It's the International Soccer Preview. We are Soccer Files Canada. Welcome to Series 32, looking at the groups and teams of the 2026 FIFA World Cup. This episode is looking at Group C, Brazil, Morocco, Scotland, and Haiti. Here we go! It's the International Soccer Preview by Soccer Files Canada, Series 32. I'm Kevin.
And I'm Connor, and today we're looking at Group C for the 2026 World Cup. This group is made up of Brazil, Morocco, Scotland, and Haiti. In addition to this media cast on the World Cup groups, Kevin is also doing a series on the players for each team.
Yeah, that series on the players comes in two parts. Part one is a look at the candidates and their likelihood of making the squad. We introduce the main players and do a couple of other things. And in part two, we're going to publish that after the squad lists are released. And it goes over who made it and who didn't. And also a couple of other things, such as updating injuries there.
Yeah, moving on though, this media cast is divided into three sections. So let's take a look at these.
Yeah, part one, we're going to introduce the teams in the group and give the location and population of each, some demographics there.
And for part two, we'll do an overview of each team's history and recent form. We'll look at their recent tournaments and how they qualified for this one.
Right, so that's probably the main part of the podcast, or perhaps number three or part three is that's a comparison of the teams in terms of their ranking, head-to-head records and prospects. And we'll end with a discussion of those prospects and perhaps even give predictions. All right, before we start, Connor, tell me something that'll get me into this group.
Yeah, I want to talk about the experience differential. We have one team in this group that's ever present at World Cups. And then of the other three teams, they have just 2 World Cup finals appearances this century combined.
Oh, cool. Well, I guess we'll see that in part two when we look at their histories. I got a question for you. 3 of these teams were in the same group in the previous World Cup. Which 3 teams are they, and which World Cup was it?
I don't know. I'm going to guess it was maybe, I know Haiti's been in 1 World Cup and I think they played Brazil, so I'll go Haiti, Brazil, and Morocco.
Oh no, you missed Haiti. It's not Haiti. It's Brazil and Morocco and Scotland. I'll give you another chance on the year.
Oh, I don't know. I could say
That's a tough one.
98.
Oh, well done. Yes, that was it. Scotland's last appearance, actually.
All right.
Did you say 2 teams had 2 appearances this century, or 1 team?
There were just 2 appearances between the 3 teams.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. So
right, yeah, because Scotland hasn't been there since 98. I have a Scotland shirt. What I'm doing, Connor, is wearing the shirt of the weakest team in the group that I have. So I have Brazil and Morocco. I'm wearing Scotland because they're the weakest team, and I don't have a Haiti shirt.
all right. Well, we'll see if any Scottish fans disagree with you, but the shirt is nice.
All right. Yeah, well, weakest in terms of the pot order, I should clarify that. Let's move on to part one and take a look at some of the demographics here, starting with Brazil.
Yeah, their soccer team's known as the Seleção, or the national team, sometimes also the Samba Boys. Brazil is a very large country that takes up a good chunk of South America on the Atlantic side of the continent. And Brazil has a population of 213 million.
Ooh, 213 million. All right. Next, we have Morocco.
Yes, Morocco, known as the Atlas Lions. Morocco is located in Northwest Africa, between the Atlantic Ocean and Sahara Desert, and just south of Spain. And Morocco has a population of 37 million people.
37 million, pretty close to Canada there, where we're broadcasting from. Next, we have Scotland.
Scotland, yeah, they're known as the Tartan Terriers. Scotland occupies the northern part of the island of Great Britain, which it shares with England and Wales. And Scotland has a population of 5.5 million.
All right, 5.5 million. And finally, we have Haiti.
Yes, Haiti, known as the bicolors from their flag, the blue and red, or the Grenadiers. Haiti's a country that's in the Caribbean and occupies the western third of the island of Hispaniola, which it shares with Dominican Republic. And Haiti has a population of 12 million people.
12 million. All right. Well, we'll go over those populations again so we can compare them directly. Perhaps you can just give me the numbers again.
Yeah, so Brazil's 213 million.
That is huge. All right. I'm going to make the flag big there.
Yeah, Morocco is the next largest at 37 million people.
37 million. I'll keep that at the same size as it is. Okay.
Scotland, the pot three team, are the smallest. They're just 5.5 million.
5.5 million.
And then
All right.
Haiti is about double Scotland at 12 million people.
12 million. Well, it's not all going to fit on the same page, but there we have it. Morocco a bit bigger. What do you think?
Pretty good.
All right. Well, there we have it in a visual if you're watching the YouTube. And if you're just listening to the podcast version, you may be wondering, what on earth are we doing? We're just trying to give a visual comparison. Let's move on to part 2 of the media cast. We're going to look at the teams and their history. I'll just point out before we begin that the first graphic on their overall participation and achievements, it may be hard to see the actual writing. We are going to zoom in on these things a bit later, but pay attention to the colors really. Green is kind of success, blue is medium success, and red is not a good turn or a failure usually to qualify, gray being a withdrawal or didn't participate. So let's begin with Brazil and their overall participation and achievements.
Yes, so Brazil is the only team in the world to have qualified or completed qualification and qualified for every World Cup. Their record is not so consistent for Copa America. Even though they've officially entered every cup since 1916, they withdrew from several cups in the 1920s, 2 in the 30s, and 40s, and then once in the 1950s and 60s, last withdrawing in 1967.
Right, Copa America, by far the oldest tournament there. In terms of success, Brazil is considered the most successful soccer team in the world, not only because they won the World Cup 5 times, which is more than any other country, but because they've placed in the top 3 9 times. They did not win when they wanted to most, though. Both times they hosted the Cup, it met with disappointment. At the regional level, it may surprise people to know that they are not the dominant team, not even second, actually. In terms of Copa America title wins, they're third with 9 titles, well behind Uruguay and Argentina, who have far more titles. Does that surprise you, Connor?
Yes, I am aware of that, but they're quite a bit behind. I think Uruguay and Argentina have 17 or 16, so it's Brazil's not even kind of that close to the top 2.
Yeah, we will mention that number in the Copa America section, but let's move on here now to their World Cup history.
Right, so as we said, Brazil not only entered every edition of the World Cup, but are the only team to successfully qualify for every World Cup. They were not a dominant team in the early years, however, getting knocked out at the group stage in each of the first 2 editions. The first post-war cup was supposed to rectify this, but 1950 proved a painful disappointment known as Americanazo, where they hosted but suffered a famous loss in the final to Uruguay. 1958 to 1970 saw 3 titles out of 4 and set Brazil on top of world football. Incongruously, the only tournament they did not win over those 4 editions was 1966 in England, which saw them knocked out at the group stage, something that has not happened since. Further wins in 1994 and 2002 established them as the most successful soccer nation with 5 titles. 2014 saw them hosting again, but as in 1950, it ended in disappointment. Expectations of glory became humiliation with the shocking 7-1 loss to Germany in the semifinal.
Ouch.
Yeah, it has now been a long time since they won the tournament. Since 2002, apart from the fourth place finish when they hosted, they've reached only the quarterfinals in 4 of the last 5 editions to 2022. Another singular accomplishment is that they're the only non-European team to win in Europe in 1958. But the inverse is perhaps more significant. They have won 4 of the 5 titles when the World Cup was played outside of Europe.
Yeah, I think that is up to 2002 because they didn't win in Qatar there.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to the regional cup history. A look at the Copa America. Look how many tournaments there are. Barely fit them on the page.
Yeah. So ironically, though Brazil are on top of the world, Brazil is not on top of South America. Uruguay and Argentina have won far more Copa Americas, 15 and 16 times respectively. This compares with Brazil's relatively meager 9 regional titles. This was twice in the early years, in 1919 and 1922, only once in a long drought between 1927 and 1923 and 1987. That's when they won in 1949. And then in 1989, in 1989, and then a run of 4 out of 5 between 1997 and 2007, their dominant period. The 3 editions after were disappointing quarterfinal finishes, followed by a knockout at the group stage in the 2016 Copa America Centenario for only the 2nd time in their long history. 2019, however, saw them host and win. They finished 2nd in 2021, but it was only a quarterfinal finish in 2024.
All right. Well, let's move on to an overview. I'm going to make the screen or the information small again as we give a summary of their strengths. Brazil, again, widely regarded as the best team in the world, perhaps rivaled by Germany, which is arguable in the details. One thing that will never be rivaled is their record of participating in every World Cup. So Brazil has 5 titles, 7 appearances in the final, and have passed the group stage all but 3 times, and 2 of those being the first 2 editions. They are less outstanding, as we saw in regional competition, where they've not only missed several editions, although none since 1967, but have fewer titles than both Argentina and Uruguay. They can't be described as having a weak period, really, because success or failure doesn't correlate well between the global and the regional competition. For example, their strongest global period, 1958 to 70, was part of their weakest regional period. It can be argued that recent time marks their first truly weak period. Following the 2007 Copa America title, they've reached only the quarterfinal stage in 3 of the 4 World Cups, and even 4th place in 2014 was a bit of a disappointment given that they were hosts. Copa America results were also poor, with no better than a quarterfinal finish over the next 3 editions after 2007. However, the weak period argument fails, or at least falters, on a Copa America win in 2019, as well as a 2nd place finish in the 2021 edition. So I'll put it to you, Connor. Would you consider Brazil to be in a weak period here?
I mean, it's so relative to their strength. I think, like you said, their weak periods don't correlate between tournaments. So I would say probably no, but I think the World Cup has been kind of a weak period of play that they're eager to fix.
Yes, well, we'll see if they can rectify things here. Let's move on to their recent history. We're going to go back to the World Cup in 2022 and begin our look from there. Can you take us through that qualification?
Yeah, so it was a commanding qualification. They tied only 3 games and finished a distant 1st in the large qualifying group, 6 points ahead of Argentina. The 3 draws they
so
had,
much for the weak period argument, eh?
I was going to actually come back to that.
Oh, sorry.
Because qualifying in South America is, of course, a 10-team table, so it's very competitive. The 3 draws were all away games, and they were all in a row in the second half of the campaign against teams that finished 6th or higher. At the World Cup, they beat Serbia and Switzerland to secure advancement, and then had a B team lose on a late goal to Cameroon that didn't prevent them from finishing first in the group. They then met and crushed South Korea with 4 goals in the first 36 minutes, but Croatia brought their juggernaut to a stop, beating them on penalties in the quarterfinals.
Yeah, certainly didn't look weak in that tournament, but a bit of an unfortunate ending there. Let's move on to the most recent Copa America. That was in 2024.
Yeah, there was no qualifying for them, for the South American teams. Brazil tied Costa Rica in their opener, then beat Paraguay and tied Colombia to finish second in the group. In the quarterfinals, they went scoreless with Uruguay, but lost on penalty, so exiting the same way they exited the World Cup.
Yeah, quarterfinals, not a good result for them in the Copa America. Let's see how they got to this competition. Again, that huge qualifying group in South America.
Yeah, 18 games played. This was actually a fairly weak qualification with a poor patch at home near the beginning and a generally poor one on the road. Nevertheless, they were in second going into the final game, where a loss in Bolivia dropped them to 5th place in the qualifying group. Second to 6th place were separated by just a point, but all teams advanced automatically to the expanded tournament. But normally you don't have to scan that far down the table to find Brazil, and their record of 8 wins, 4 draws, and 6 losses, less than dominant, you would say.
Oh, absolutely. But how tight that was. At 1 point between second and 6th place. That's amazing.
Truly, yeah. Brazil would have found themselves in second had they beat a Bolivia side that finished below them. But Argentina were clearly dominant in this. They finished at 9 points ahead of second place Ecuador. So it was close among the top teams, but Argentina aside.
Yeah, definitely. All right, well, that's qualifying, and they're here. We're going to finish with a look at their recent friendlies. Really, we won't go through them one by one, but we'll just kind of point out general impression or any results that are surprising. Do you see anything there, Connor?
A couple losses are a bit surprising. They did lose friendlies in Japan, and then they lost a friendly against France in the United States. The other results were maybe expected wins. They also tied Tunisia. So I would say, good, but for a team of Brazil's caliber, 2 losses out of 6, plus another tie, it's kind of average. It kind of matches more their qualifying campaign.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we never know. Really, the friendlies aren't a great predictor of a team's success in the cup. But yeah, a couple of bit concerning, especially in away games there. Well, they do have 2 friendlies coming up. The first one on May 31st. They're going to play in Brazil against Panama. The second one is in USA, where the tournament's being held, of course, and they'll meet Egypt there on June 6th.
Yeah, games you would expect them to win.
Yeah, I would say so. All right, we're moving on to our next team. It is Morocco. And again, a broad overview of their participation and achievements to begin with. Take it away, Connor.
All right, so Morocco played their first international game in 1957 and began qualifying in 1962 for the World Cup. And after joining the general African boycott of the World Cup in 1966, they participated consistently from 1970 onwards. Their African Cup career got off to a rocky start, not participating in the first 2 editions, withdrawing in 1962, and then joining their first in 1963, but not entering 3 of the 5 subsequent tournaments. So it's only from 1976 that they participated consistently. They were also disqualified in 2015 when they withdrew from hosting.
Yeah, do you remember why they withdrew from hosting?
I don't entirely. Do you? What's the reason?
Yeah, I think there was a bit of an Ebola scare in
Oh, right.
Africa. So, yeah. Anyway, let's take a look at their achievements here. Morocco have reached the World Cup 6 times and came close 3 times besides. They passed the group stage in 1986 and became the most successful African team in the World Cup with their 4th-place finish in 2022. Their 1976 African Cup title came in the first tournament that they passed the group stage in. They placed in the top 4 every other time they passed the group stage until 2017, with the exception of a single quarterfinal finish in 1998. In other words, in 4 of the 5 editions that they passed the group stage in until 2017, they reached the semi-finals, and the second-place finish in 2004 was the best and the last of these. From 2017, they have passed the group stage consistently, and in 2025 won a second title, although it's hinted by having been awarded rather than won.
Right.
All right, we'll probably talk a little bit more about that, but let's zoom in a little bit on their World Cup history.
So Morocco reached the World Cup in 1970 and 1986, twice in a row in 94 and 98. And finally, twice in a row in 2018 and 2022, so the 2 most recent editions. They came very close in their first try in 1962 in the sense that they made it out of Africa, but they then faced a playoff with Spain and had little chance. That was as close as any Asian or African team came to the 1962 Cup, and sheds light on why those 2 confederations boycotted the following edition. That boycott guaranteed Africa 1 place among the 16 teams in the 1970 World Cup, and Morocco's second qualification campaign saw them take it. It took until 1986, 4 cups later, to succeed again, and there they passed the group stage, the first African team to do so. A terrible campaign in 1990 saw them finish bottom of the qualifying group in round 1 of 2, but they reached the following 2 cups with only 1 loss over the 2 qualifying campaigns. They fell just short for the following 2 cups, but sank further after that, finishing last in the final round of qualification in 2010 and not even reaching that stage in 2014. 2018 saw them reaching the cup for the first time since 1998, and next came a tremendous result, finishing in 4th place in 2022, the best ever result for an African team.
Well, they'll be hoping to repeat that. Do you think they can?
It'll be tough, but it was so historic for them, it would be great to build on it.
Yeah. Let's take a look at the regional cup history, the African Cup. While their record of finishing in the top 4 virtually every time they pass the group stage is interesting and impressive, it does mask over the fact that they rarely did pass the group stage up until 2017. Until 1996, they only reached the Cup in 7 of the 20 editions. And though they only failed to qualify once after 1998, that's aside from their disqualification in 2015, they only passed the group stage in 2 of the 10 editions. After their second place finish in 2004, it took 13 years for them to pass again, or to again pass the group stage when they did so in 2017. That, together with a World Cup qualification after a long absence, suggested they were heading into a period of strength, and that proved true as they have passed the group stage every time since. However, their 2022 World Cup success is not mirrored here, as the quarterfinals, just the top 8, is their best finish in the recent period. Following a disappointment and dramatic round of 16 exit in 2023, they hosted the 2025 edition and reached a final. High drama ensued as they lost the game, but were later awarded the title, a matter that is still being contested.
Yeah, that is a fairly recent memory, that all shook down.
Yeah. Let's save that until because we will be looking at that in recent tournaments. But we'll finish the broad overview with a summary of strength. Do you want to take us through that, Connor?
Yeah. So Morocco's current period is their strongest. In truth, despite smattering successes, their only other strong period was around 1986. Passing the group stage of the World Cup and finishing in the top 4 in 2 African Cups in a row gives 3 strong results across 2 competitions. Otherwise, they have been a second or even third tier team until 2017. Their current strong period features regular qualification for the World Cup, 3 in a row for the first time, and consistently passing the group stage of the African Cup, even if not reaching the semifinals until 2025, understates their strength they showed in their qualification records and their fourth place finish in the 2022 World Cup. Their current form as a top-tier team in Africa is at least rectified with an appearance in the final of the 2025 African Cup, regardless of whether one thinks they deserve the title or not.
All right. Well, we're heading towards a discussion on that, but we'll begin the recent history with a look at their last World Cup campaign, that successful one in 2022.
Yeah, so they received a bye in round 1 of 3, which is just a preliminary round. They won all games over Guinea-Bissau, Guinea, and Sudan to finish a distant first in round 2 of 3. They were imperious, and the campaign was uneventful in terms of games. But they did travel to Guinea only to find themselves waking up the next day to gunfire in the streets amid the outbreak of a civil war. The final playoff round to qualify for the World Cup proved as easy. They tied the away leg and then won easily at home over Congo DR to advance to the Cup. Morocco tied Croatia in their World Cup opener and finished first in the group stage after wins over a poor Belgium and Canada.
Ouch.
Morocco then beat Spain on penalties and Portugal on a single goal before falling to France in the semi-final, before losing to Croatia to finish in fourth place. But a remarkable tournament where they faced some of the top teams from Western Europe and gathered 3 wins against them.
Yeah. I mean, that group stage really set the tone. They finished first in the group stage there, so it was a pretty solid tournament throughout until, of course, they met France in the semi-final. But yes, they didn't, despite winning the group, didn't have an easy run after that, did they?
I think that's a point to kind of highlight here. It was a very difficult group that they finished first in, and then Spain and Portugal and even meeting France. Those were all tournament kind of favorites. So they did really well to get as far. You can't say they had an easy path to get there.
No, not at all. I mean, when they saw that they were drawn with Spain in the round of 16 after winning their group, they must have, slapped their head. That's pretty unlucky.
Yeah.
Anyway, a great result for Morocco there. We saw they didn't really follow it up that well in the 2023 African Cup, but we're going to focus on the more recent edition in 2025 and see how that went.
Yeah, they did go through qualifying, even though they hosted the tournament and did have automatic entry. But they were imperious there. They won all their games to finish first in the qualifying group and came up with a goal record of 26 scored, 2 against over 6 games.
Yeah, and I think during that period they actually went through, or they actually reached the longest unbeaten record in qualification. If I'm right, I know yes, they did hit a record.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, at the tournament they were impressive in the group stage. Despite a draw with Mali, they comfortably finished first in their group. They then beat Tanzania and Cameroon to face a well-performing Nigeria in the semi-final. They won that on penalties, which set up a final with Senegal. That game went scoreless in regulation time, but there was great drama in injury time after the 90 minutes, where after a disallowed goal, Senegal suffered a penalty award against them. Although both decisions were reasonable, Senegal walked off the field in anger, but were coaxed back on. Morocco star Brahim Diaz, kind of the player of the tournament, tried a panenka on the resulting penalty, and it was caught, easily saved. And then in extra time, Senegal won, scoring the only goal of the game, forcing host Morocco to have to settle for second place. However, 2 months later, CAF decided that Senegal had forfeited the game by walking off, and the game and title was subsequently awarded to Morocco. So what do you make of all that, Kev?
I was going to start with your opinion. Well, first of all, I'm not sure you agreed as much as me with those two goals in injury time. First of all, the Senegal goal that was disallowed, and then the penalty award to Morocco, which I guess doesn't really matter since they missed it. But did you agree with those decisions? I personally did. I don't
Yeah,
think the ref had any choice.
I don't totally disagree. The penalty was a VAR call, and I thought it was harsh. And I think, given the context it happened, and you can understand Senegal's frustration, I think it was on the soft side.
What? He wrapped his arms around the guy's neck and threw him to the ground and headed the ball clear.
No, that was a player looking for a penalty in the dying seconds of the game. In any
Okay, but
case,
let's, yeah, what do you make of the broader decision there to award the game to Morocco?
it's very controversial. It's very harsh. I mean, obviously, Senegal leaving the field was problematic, but I think once they came back on and they decided to settle matters on the field, which they did, and Senegal won it, I think it's very hard to go back two months later and say no, the game's forfeited. It's kind of like everyone agreed to move on. Morocco should have won it. It should have favored Morocco to play the game, but the penalty was saved. So I think it's a very difficult decision. Senegal is appealing it currently. We don't know what the outcome of that is, but it's we might not have heard the last of this yet.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there were complaints about Morocco being favored in many ways, not actually so much in the games or with reffing in the tournament, but because they were hosting, CAF kind of. Um, uh, I don't really know what the details are, but I do know some teams complained about Morocco being favored by CAF in general. So, the fact that they were hosts makes it a bit more unpalatable, I would say, taking it away from the visitors and giving it to the host. Do you think that's a factor?
I do. It kind of felt like, Senegal actually complained of kind of throughout the cup and leading up to the final of unfavorable treatment. So I think, for them, maybe for Senegal, it kind of plays into a narrative that Morocco were supposed to win the tournament.
Yeah.
So I do think it is a factor.
Yeah. Also, for me, the 2 months later thing. I mean, if the decision was made the next day, it might have been a bit more acceptable. I was actually kind of hoping that Morocco would gracefully decline the title because I don't know, Connor. To me, it seems a bit like Trump getting a Nobel Peace Prize.
Yeah, it's difficult. I know some of the players, like I think even Hakimi kind of came out and said it doesn't feel like a win and it never will. So it's controversial. I think it's kind of been thrust onto the Moroccan players more than a cause for celebration.
Yeah. Yes, I do know that a couple of players have a bit of a sour taste in their mouth, a couple of the Moroccan players there. Anyway, we'll move on from that. We do have more business here with Morocco, and that is their qualification campaign for this cup.
Yeah, we've already seen that Morocco are strong in qualifying campaigns, and this was yet another one. It was a commanding qualification where they won all 8 games over relatively easy competition to finish first in the qualifying group. There was one fewer teams than the others because Eritrea withdrew, and they finished again with a commanding goal record of 22 scored and 2 against.
Right. There we go. Okay, let's go to their recent friendlies. We're going to actually include the December FIFA Arab Cup in this group stage. I don't actually think many of Morocco's first team players played in it, but I do think a lot of the kind of substitutes or B team players, especially the ones based in Africa, did participate in that. But again, a very convincing record here, undefeated through quite a few games. Do you want to summarize that?
Yeah, well, Morocco did win the Arab Cup, beating Jordan in the final, winning most of their games en route. They had hosted some games before that in the fall of 2025, games at home they won against African teams. And then in March of this year, they branched out to play Paraguay and Ecuador, getting a win and a draw there. So I think from Morocco's qualification through to the recent friendlies, you can see they've developed a habit and a pattern of winning, and that's kind of evident in these friendlies too.
Yeah, very solid in the friendlies there. Those two games in March taking place in Europe. And on June 7th, they only have one game scheduled so far. That's on June 7th in the USA, where they'll be playing Norway. That would be an interesting friendly.
Yeah, probably the stiffest competition they'll have come up against in their friendly, so that'll be a good measure for them.
Yeah. Right on. Let's move on to our third team, then Scotland, and we begin with a broad overview of their participation and achievements.
So Scotland, along with England, is the oldest international soccer team on the planet. However, like all British teams, they did not enter the pre-war World Cups. They successfully qualified for the first cup after that in 1950, but withdrew. From 1954 onwards, they've entered consistently. Similarly, they did not enter the first two Euro Cups in 1960 and 64, but they have participated consistently since 1968. Despite reaching the World Cup 8 times and the Euro Cup 4 times, Scotland has not passed the group stage in either competition.
Right, that's a fairly brief overview of their achievements, which we will go into detail, but basically they've never passed or they've never reached the final stage of a tournament. Let's zoom in on their World Cup history there.
So British teams did not participate in pre-war cups, but Scotland qualified in 1950 by finishing second in the British Home Championship, which was a local tournament. However, they withdrew for the strange reason of not having come first in the group. They qualified, though, for the next two editions in 1954 and 1958, and then after missing 3 in a row, they qualified for the next 5. 1998 was their last appearance, though, so it was a long drought before finally returning in 2026 after the Cup expanded to 48 teams. Scotland's World Cup appearances were an exercise in frustration. They never got past the group stage, but came close 4 times, finishing tied with the second place advancer for 3 cups in a row in 1974 with Brazil, in 1978 with the Netherlands, and in 1982 with the USSR. Following their last appearance in 1998, they have failed to qualify. From 2002, they finished 3rd in their qualifying group every time, except for 2014 when they finished 4th. 2010 and 2018 saw them finish tied with second place finishers, but in both cases, the second place finisher did not advance and the group winner was far ahead. In 2022, they did finish second and advance to a playoff round where they were knocked out, but 2026 saw them winning their group for a long-awaited return to the tournament.
Yes, so direct qualification for this tournament. Here they are back again. Let's take a look at their history in the Euro Cup.
So Scotland did not enter the first 2 Euro Cups, but came just a point behind England in 1968. That was the last time they would come close, though, finishing 3rd and then 4th in their groups during their good periods of World Cup qualification. As that World Cup form waned, they reached the first 2 Euro Cups in 1994 and 1996, coming 3rd in the group both times, but re-haunted in 1996 by finishing tied on points and goal difference with the Netherlands, who advanced narrowly by dint of scoring 1 more goal. In 2000, Czechoslovakia, who Scotland had narrowly edged out in 1962 and 1974 World Cup qualification, got their long-awaited revenge, condemning them to 2nd place and a playoff with England, which they lost. Scotland lost a playoff to Netherlands in 2004 and grew even further from reaching the Cup, sinking to 4th in their 2016 qualification group when the Cup expanded to 24 teams. In 2020, they finally reached the Euro Cup for the first time since 1996, qualifying through a playoff, and 2nd place in the group earned them direct qualification in 2024. In both tournaments, they earned only a single draw to finish last in the group stage.
All right, so that doesn't really bode well coming into this cup. But yeah, I think the graphics there didn't cover everything. I apologize for that, but we are going to move on to the UEFA Nations League record there. They started in in League C there.
Yeah, they started in League C, but were promoted to League B. They did have a brief stint in League A in the 2022-23 version, but that didn't last. They're relegated to League B, and that's where they will start for the next edition.
Right. So let's finish with the broad kind of history with a summary of their strengths. And Scotland's consistent qualification for the World Cup, especially from 1974 to 1990, was never met with a trip beyond the group stage, nor did that period include a Euro Cup appearance. It's odd that there are only 2 appearances in the in the Euro Cup in the previous century was during the brief period where they did not reach the World Cup. So they can't be said to have a period of strength. All in all, that must go down as a 3rd-tier period. And given that they didn't reach another cup from 1998 to 2020, we'd have to say it was close to a 4th-tier period after that. Recent times are arguably back to 3rd tier with 2 Euro Cup appearances and a foray into Nations League A. But 2026 World Cup qualifications saw them top a qualification group for the first time since 1992 and perhaps holds out promise for a stronger showing in the group stage. And I'll just say, Connor, I'm classifying kind of 3rd tier teams as sometimes reaching a cup, really not being able to get past the group stage if they make it to the cup at all. Do you agree with the assessment?
Yeah, overall I do. They've kind of, like we saw, up and down performances. Some great periods, some extended good periods, some extended drought. So yeah, hopefully for them it's the start of a good period again after a bit of a drought.
Yeah. And having said that, 3rd tier in Europe may be a little bit stronger than 3rd tier in other regions.
Yeah, definitely.
But let's go to the recent history here and take a look at that World Cup qualification campaign in 2022.
Yeah, they started off a bit shakily with a home tie with 4th place Austria and a tie in Israel, which was respectable. But they won all games after that except in Denmark, who were the eventual group winners. They finished 2nd in the qualifying group, which led to a regional playoff, but they lost that to Ukraine in the semifinal, 3-1.
Yes, and they will meet Denmark in the most recent World Cup qualification campaign, which we'll look at a bit later. But first, let's look at their Euro 2024 campaign.
So Scotland got off to a great start. They won their first 5 qualifying games, including a home game to Spain, and they led the group until meeting Spain again, losing there and then losing their consistency as they tied their last 2 games. But they finished 2nd in the qualifying group and advanced automatically to the Euros. In the tournament, they lost heavily to host Germany in the opener. A red card near halftime contributed to that. But they tied a well-performing Switzerland before losing to Hungary to finish last in the group stage with just a single point.
Just a single point, and just like 2020 with a single draw in that tournament. Let's take a look at their most recent Nations League campaign. They were in League A, actually, in 2024-25.
Indeed, they were. They lost their first 3 games before tying Portugal, but then beat Croatia and Poland towards the end, which saw them finishing 3rd out of 4. That meant they proceeded to a relegation playoff with a 2nd place finisher in League B. That was played in March 2025. Scotland won away in Greece to take an advantage home, but lost 3-0 at home to Greece. So that means Greece replaces them in League A and Scotland are relegated.
Yes, so a bit of a lapse having won the home game there. Okay, well, we promised that they faced Denmark again in World Cup 2026 qualifying. Let's see how that went.
Yeah, so Scotland tied pot 1 Denmark away in their opener and otherwise only dropped points with a loss in Greece. Greece proving difficult for them again. They came in as a pot 3 team out of 4, but a glorious home win over Denmark in the final game where they scored an injury time winner saw them move up to first place in the 4-team qualifying group and achieve direct qualification. Drama it was.
It was, and it really looked like it was kind of all over when they lost to Greece there, because their last game was against Denmark. So not many expected them to actually win and take first place in the group there.
Yeah, great achievement.
All right, well, there we go. And we're going to finish with recent friendlies. Actually, not so many here. They had a couple in June of 2025, which really doesn't bear mention. Otherwise, just a couple in March of 2026. What do you make of it?
Yeah, both 1-0 losses to Japan and Ivory Coast. Two decent teams. The loss is disappointing, but perhaps the lack of goals would be a bit of a concerning thing for Scotland fans.
Yeah. Well, Scotland always famous for pretty stingy defenses there. They do have two friendlies scheduled. The first one, I have them backwards here. The first one is May 30th. It's in Scotland, actually. They'll be playing Curacao, and then they go over to the USA, and they play Bolivia there.
Yeah, I think for Scotland, those are games where they want to build some momentum with a couple wins. They're games they are capable of winning. So, rather than maybe test themselves against, the strongest teams, even against, Japan or Ivory Coast, I think this is focused on maybe building a bit of confidence and trying to get some wins before the tournament starts.
Yeah, that's a good analysis of it. Okay, well, we're moving on to our last team. It's Haiti. And we will start with a broad overview of their participation and achievements. Maybe Haiti has a bit more history than a lot of people will realize. So I think this will be interesting.
Indeed, they do. Haiti's among the oldest teams in the world, having first entered World Cup qualification in 1934.
Wow.
I'm surprised to learn that. They were the founding members, or one of the founding members of the CONCACAF regional tournament in 1963 and the Caribbean regional tournament in 1989. Their participation has been inconsistent, however. After 1934, they entered only one cup. That was in after 1934, they only entered one cup in 1954 up until 1970. After that, they participated consistently except for 1990 when they didn't enter. In the Regional Cup, however, they quite consistently participated from the beginning in 1963, absent only once through disqualification in 1969, but then they withdrew from most tournaments between 1989 and 1998. They have participated consistently since, even though a devastating earthquake in 2010 cost the lives of a quarter of their Football Association staff.
Wow, yeah, they've been quite unlucky in a lot of ways. In terms of achievement, Haiti reached the World Cup only once in 1974, where they were knocked out at the group stage. Having come close in the two cups surrounding that, they have never come close since, until unexpectedly reaching the cup in 2026. The early 1970s was their peak in regional competition also, winning the CONCACAF Championship in 1973 and coming second in the two surrounding tournaments. From their return to regular participation since 2000, they've reached the Gold Cup about 2/3 of the time, and they passed the group stage about 1/3 of the time, with their best result a semi-final finish in 2019.
Yeah, pretty good.
Yeah. Let's take a bit of a closer look at that World Cup history.
So that Haiti participated in the 1934 World Cup qualification is an accolade which few CONCACAF teams can boast. They were knocked out there in a preliminary regional set consisting of 3 games with Cuba. They have little to boast of beyond that other than a strong period in the early 70s. They came within minutes of reaching the World Cup in 1970, losing a final playoff to El Salvador in extra time. They did reach the World Cup in the following edition in 1974, and they came quite close in 1978 also, which was their finest period in world football. In the World Cup itself, they were knocked out in the first round, losing all games but scoring a goal each against Italy and Argentina. The closest they came after that was reaching the final round of qualifying in 1982, but not again really until 2026, where they not only reached the final round, achieved more easily because the tournament was in their region, and so Canada, USA, and Mexico qualified automatically. But nevertheless, they were not expected to advance from the group, but did so over a couple of teams that have qualified more often from the region.
Yes, and we will take a closer look at that in the recent history. But let's move on to a broad overview of the regional cup here in the CONCACAF region.
So Haiti's golden period in the 1970s extends to the regional cup, as described above. In fact, the two were intricately connected since the CONCACAF Championship was the qualification tournament for the World Cup. So it's their World Cup and Regional Cup being quite linked. Their regional title in 1973 therefore earned them the region's single spot in the 1974 World Cup. And their second place finishes in 1971 and 1977 account for their falling just short of the World Cup. Haiti were weak in the 1980s and almost absent in the 1990s. They reached the cup more than half the time from 2000 onwards and passed the group stage in 2002. They did not do that again until 2009, but then they did so half the times until 2019 when they reached the semifinals of the Gold Cup, their best finish since 1977. In the 3 editions since, though, they have been knocked out at the group stage.
Right, so a bit like Scotland, not looking so strong in their recent regional cup there. CONCACAF does have a Nations League here, so we'll take a look at how Haiti have done. Actually, started off really well, placing first in the kind of the placement round, even though the top teams in the region didn't participate in that. I'm stealing your thunder, though. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, that seeding round put them in League A to begin. They were relegated to League B the following season, and then they've bounced basically back and forth between League A and League B ever since. They achieved promotion to League A for the 3rd time in 2024-25. So maybe struggling to find their place between those two divisions, or those two leagues.
Yeah, right. And, a lot of that too depends on the overall strength of the region. So a bit hard to compare, which actually I'm going to get into as we look at the last part of the broad overview, a summary of Haiti's strength. So, in summary, Haiti's a pretty inconsistent team. Apart from that strong period in the 1970s, the World Cup qualification and the 2 strong campaigns surrounding it, they really haven't seemed that strong. Doing well in one tournament in World Cup qualification, also for Haiti, doesn't really correlate with the other tournaments. So again, a bit difficult to call out strong and weak periods here. For example, a strong period in the Caribbean Cup from 1998 to their only title win in that competition doesn't correlate with the Gold Cup, where their performance was unremarkable. The Caribbean Cup that was the qualification tournament for the Gold Cup up until recently. Their 3 quarterfinal finishes in the Gold Cup between 2002 and 2015 were each followed by a failure to qualify for the next cup. And it's the same at the game level, where in any given game they can challenge the best or drop points to the worst. Their World Cup qualification in 2026 was unexpected because it followed 3 group stage exits from the Gold Cup, as we've seen. So in short, Haiti ranges unpredictably, I would say, from a 2nd to a 3rd tier team in a fairly weak region. So if we put that at the global level, we'd probably say they're a fairly weak 3rd tier team at the world level. Would you say so?
Yeah, a weak 3rd tier or maybe even 4th tier, you could argue, but
yeah, again, if we've said Scotland is kind of a 3rd tier team, Haiti probably a little bit below that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, let's look at the recent campaigns here, beginning with World Cup in 2022.
Yeah, so in a early round, they came in as a pot 1 team and proved their worth, finishing first of 5. They then met Canada in round 2 of 3 And despite having beat them in the quarterfinals of the 2019 Gold Cup, they were no match for the eventual regional winners here, losing in both legs without scoring.
That's right. Yeah, we could go back and relive the trauma of that 2019 Gold Cup where Haiti knocked Canada out. But we will move on to the 2025 Gold Cup here.
Yeah, so qualifying is now through the Nations League. So in League B, Haiti won all their games in an easy group with Puerto Rico, St. Martin, and Aruba, finishing first of four in qualifying for the Gold Cup. They came into the Cup as the Pot 2 team, but they started with a loss to guest Saudi Arabia, who came from Pot 4 but actually shared a higher FIFA ranking, even in ELO. They then tied Pot 3 Trinidad and Tobago. And by that point, a loss to host USA in their final game meant finishing last in the group. So disappointing for a team that has had some good Gold Cup results recently.
Yeah, I mean, a bit of a tough group for them there with Pot 4 Saudi Arabia, but, a tie with Trinidad and Tobago. Well, all in all, a disappointing tournament for them there.
Yeah, all the games were close, though. They lost to both Saudi Arabia and the US by a single goal.
Yeah, that's true. All right, well, we'll move on to CONCACAF Nations League, the most recent one. That actually was the qualification for the Gold Cup we just looked at.
Yeah, so Haiti having no trouble going 6-0 against fairly weak opposition.
Yeah, and that did actually get them back into League A. So you can see, like, the competition in in League B is fairly light there. So not really a huge achievement to get to League A, would you say?
Yeah, definitely. I would say that.
Yeah, Puerto Rico improving a bit, but no match for Haiti. Let's go to the World Cup qualifying campaign, and I'm kind of interested to revisit what they did in the final round there.
Yeah, so Haiti didn't have to play in round one, but came in into round two as a pot one team, and kind of from the bottom of that pot. But they solidly earned an advancing spot before the last game against Curacao, who came from the top of pot two when we're just a point behind in the FIFA ranking. So very even. However, Haiti was thrashed at home 5-1 by Curacao there.
And that's what I mean. Like, even at the game level, Haiti is kind of unpredictable. Like, you would have expected a close game there, perhaps Haiti even winning at home. And lo and behold, they get hammered at home by Curacao.
Yeah. Yeah, not a good result, but it didn't hurt them because both teams advanced to round three.
Right.
And Haiti entered a group of four as a pot three team. Playing their home games in Curacao, they bested pot one Costa Rica, but were bested by pot two Honduras. In the second last game, Honduras unexpectedly lost to Nicaragua, who were the pot four team that Haiti beat in the last game to finish first of four in round three of the qualifying group, seizing the direct advancing spot to the World Cup, their first appearance since 1974. So looking at those games, Haiti tied the first two. Those were good results, really, against Honduras and Costa Rica.
Yeah.
They both won and lost to, or lost to Honduras away then, but a strong finish with wins over Costa Rica and Nicaragua got them top of a pretty tight group. But 3 wins, 2 draws, and 1 loss is pretty good considering the caliber of competition there.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great result to finish first ahead of Honduras and Costa Rica. I don't know about you, but I was kind of like a bit agog when I saw the result. Like, whoa, what happened there? Because it wasn't really an outstanding tournament, 3 wins or campaign, 3 wins, 2 losses, or 2 draws and a loss. But there they were. A bit like Scotland, actually, where that loss to Honduras kind of made you think, oh, well, that's it. It's all over. They're playing Costa Rica next. And what do you know? They emerge as the winners.
Yeah, quite remarkable, really. I mean, Costa Rica and Honduras are teams that have qualified for the World Cup and looked okay once there. So definitely they came in as pot 3 team, and that's where you expected them to finish. But not only through their own play, but a good combination of results. Costa Rica tying 4 of their games. So it was a good combination of results that worked in Haiti's favor.
Yeah, yeah, it did. Anyway, here they are, and deservedly so. We'll take a look at their recent friendlies. Actually, um, not many for Haiti. They had one back in March of 2025, winning in Azerbaijan. Do you want to take a look at their most recent friendlies, though?
Yeah, 2 friendlies hosted in Canada, a 1-0 loss to Tunisia, and then a 1-1 tie with Iceland. Not bad results for them. They don't often test themselves outside of the region. So competitive with a European and an African team is not bad, I would say, but they weren't wins, and the competition at the World Cup is only going to be greater.
Yeah, yeah, and they have no friendlies scheduled for the World Cup yet. I wouldn't be surprised if they do schedule a game. Do you think they have a bit of an advantage with this being in the CONCACAF region, though? I mean, they do have probably quite a few home fans there in the United States.
I think the fans will help them. There's always political events that make it difficult to know if Haiti, all their players will be allowed entry or their fans will be allowed entry. So it's a difficult political situation. It's, I think, tough to say what kind of state the team is going to show up in, which is kind of unfortunate. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
they are
and
playing close to home, but it'll be difficult for their fans, I think.
yeah. Yeah, that's right. I mean, they might have an advantage if they were playing in Florida, but they're not. Their games are in other places. But yes, we'll see. Anyway, I'm kind of looking forward to seeing Haiti because I think they can pull a bit of a, or they are capable of a bit of a surprise anyway. And that actually kind of leads us into part 3 here, where we are going to kind of look at the teams and talk about things like Haiti's prospect. Let's begin though by looking at the pots and rankings there.
Yeah, so the pot 1 team is Brazil. They came in as 5th in the world. So that's pretty good. Morocco is 11th in the world, so they're actually one of the top pot 2 teams. Only Croatia and Morocco or only Croatia ahead of them. So you'd have to say a very difficult pot 2 team to be drawn against. Scotland are in the middle of the pack among pot 3 teams. And then Haiti come in actually as the 2nd lowest ranked team in the tournament, behind Curacao, but ahead of New Zealand. So yeah, it'll be difficult for them. But yeah, any comments on the pots there?
Not really. I think we can maybe move on and get into our comments a bit later. But overall, I would say an average strength group.
Agreed. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's look at the rankings there. Whether we agree completely with the FIFA rankings. I think 11th personally seems a bit too high for Morocco. But let's go through and at least give the rankings first.
Yeah, so Brazil are 5th in FIFA and 6th in ELO. You don't want to say it's a low point for them, but they were 1st in December 2022. So there's only one place to go, which was down, and they have sunk a little bit, but 5th is still very respectable.
Yeah, well put. Okay, next we have Morocco.
Yeah, Morocco are 11th in FIFA and 20th in ELO. Morocco were kind of in the 40s and even 30s, but it was their World Cup performance in 2022, which understandably and deservedly rocketed them up to 11th. And they've kind of stayed there, kind of in the 11th to 14th in FIFA over the years since. They've never got quite as high in ELO, with 20th being their current position.
Right, and we saw in the history before 2017, they were a pretty unremarkable team, really at about 60th, 60th or even 70th in the rankings. So this really is a period of great strength for them.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's a pretty big difference there. 11th in FIFA, 20th in ELO. Do you want to comment on that?
I think ELO, shows a little bit more historical perspective. They moved up a lot in both systems, but not quite as high in the ELO system. So I think the 11th in FIFA is still really reflective of their semifinal performance.
Yeah, yeah, and I don't know if the awarding of the title changes their rankings in either system.
Yeah, that's a good question.
All right, let's move on to Scotland next. Also, a bit of a divergence between FIFA and ELO there.
Yeah, this time it's the ELO ranking that's higher, where they're 27th. They're 36th in FIFA. I think it's fair to say in both systems they've jumped around. They kind of fluctuate. They move up and down, but the overall trend has been somewhat upward. I would say over the last 5 or 6 years. So it's kind of at a relative high point, which I guess coincides with this being their first World Cup qualification in over 2 decades.
Yeah, that fits with my impression. I mean, they have benefited a bit from the expansion of tournaments. So, how much is their recent reaching of tournaments due to expansion of tournaments versus their overall improvement? But I do agree that this one suggests a slight improvement over the past few years. How about you?
Yeah, no, I agree. That's a fair comment.
All right, and we'll probably get into that more. Let's finish with our look at Haiti.
Yeah, Haiti are 85th in FIFA, 75th in ELO. So by either measure, quite a bit behind even the pot three team, Scotland. They've seen some steady improvement as well. They were below 100th in the world in 2019, but some good performances in qualification and Gold Cups have seen them climb slowly and steadily, if kind of unspectacularly. But at 84th, they still, as I say, come in as one of the lowest ranked teams in this tournament.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, their inconsistency has seen them bounce around a little bit there, but as we said, overall, well, this is putting them quite a bit below Scotland. Whereas in the summary of the strengths, we were putting them maybe not as far below Scotland, but we'll get into that discussion. Let's move on to our next basis of comparison, the head-to-head, and surprisingly, the teams have met each other quite a bit here.
Yeah, Brazil and Morocco met in 1998 in the World Cup group stage. That was a win for Brazil. That's their only appearance, or only
Yes,
meeting, I would say.
yeah, just one meeting there, but the one I was kind of thinking of was with Brazil and Scotland. They've met four times.
Yes, though this will be their fifth appearance in Scotland's only their eighth World Cup. So maybe they're a bit unlucky to be
Yeah,
constantly faced with Brazil. Um, but they do have one tie in there of those four games, but the other three were wins for Brazil.
right, and that tie was in their first meeting in 1974. We do move on to Brazil versus Haiti, and they too have met.
Yes, that they met in a Copa America. That was the Centenario, so a 100th anniversary celebration. And it was a win for Brazil, a big one at that.
Yeah, 7-1. But I do want to point out that, interestingly, Brazil's under-20 team joined the 1999 Caribbean Cup there, and Haiti beat them. I'm not sure how many of that under-20 team would have been players in the 2002 World Cup title-winning team there, but interesting to contemplate.
Yeah, anytime you get a win over Brazil, it's significant.
Yeah. Next, we have Morocco, Scotland, and they too have met.
Yes, that was in the 1998 World Cup when three of these teams were grouped together, and it was a win for Morocco.
A 3-0 win at that, so pretty good there. And the next two, they haven't met. Go ahead there.
Yeah, Morocco and Haiti yet to meet, and Scotland and Haiti yet to meet in a major tournament.
Right. Okay, so that's the head-to-head. Brazil coming out quite strong, unsurprisingly. Let's move on to our next basis of comparison, the odds. I did use odds maker in the past. Now I just go to AI. We're not really interested in the gambling aspect of this, but more what the odds makers are thinking.
Yeah, Brazil are heavy favorites to win this group, given about a 75% chance. I know the numbers here don't add to 100, but it's more relative. Morocco are given 18%, Scotland 12.5%, and then Haiti, the real outsiders, at 1%.
Just a 1% chance. Well, we have seen strange things happen in the World Cup. So Haiti beating Brazil. What do you think?
I'm not sure I'd predict it, but it would be a story if it happened.
Okay. The last thing we're going to look at is a new thing we've been doing. In getting the odds from AI, I actually learned from AI that a more reliable predictor of success is team value. So I went and got the team values for each of the four teams here. Can you take us through that?
Yeah, so it's kind of not surprising that Brazil have the highest value team at over $1 billion. Morocco are 350 million, Scotland 210, and Haiti just 12. So it kind of shows a similar story with the odds. Brazil, the favorites by a fairly big margin, Haiti, real outsiders, and Morocco with an edge over Scotland, but those two a little close.
Yes, very consistent actually there between odds and team value, and perhaps that can be the starting point of our discussion. Brazil in both the odds, well, head to head as well, and team value clearly predicted as winners here. Do you think it's as convincing as that's made out?
I do not. I think they're the favorites, but I don't know if I would put them even at the 75% chance. I think Brazil, looking at maybe the quality of their players and club affiliations, I think there are some, and there's a school of thought that this is one of Brazil's weaker generations. Look at the affiliations of their top players, and it's Richarlison for Tottenham, and maybe not a top player, but he'll be one of the strikers for that team. That is perhaps a weaker generation of Brazilian players. So I'm not sure there's this confidence of this team going to kind of run through the group and steamroll everyone. I think there's a bit of trepidation even among Brazilians. So I'm not sure I think they'll probably win the group, but I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't. And do you think this is a group that offers enough competition to potentially threaten them?
Well, I wouldn't say so on the surface. Morocco is hot right now, so could challenge them, but historically haven't been really a team of Brazil's caliber. Scotland and Haiti too do both of them have the ability to surprise, but on the surface you wouldn't say that really they're a threat to Brazil. So as you say, I think Brazil will get past the group stage, but the weakness that you talked about, and we could point out a couple of factors of weakness here, will be more of a factor in the final stages of the tournament and how deeply they can go into it. But I agree, usually from Brazil, we're seeing a lot of the players from top squads, and very difficult for Brazilian players, even from, say, secondary European teams, like Tottenham, for example, difficult to get in unless you're with a PSG or a Bayern Munich or something like that, So the level of the squad definitely lower. I have a Brazilian friend who really is kind of shaking his head. I think perhaps being a bit too negative, but definitely would agree with you that it's one of the weakest generations.
Yeah.
Having said that, I think that was some of the talk going into the 2002 World Cup. So it wouldn't be the only World Cup where, Brazil kind of make their mark in the cup, having come in not looking so good.
Yeah. 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 I
Yeah,
think for Morocco, I mean, they're coming off a great World Cup. We can say whether they won the African Cup or not, but they got to the final
yeah, they reached the
at
final.
home, and they really have ambitions to go a step further, or to kind of reassert themselves as a dominant team, not just in Africa, but a top team in the world that does go far in major tournaments. So Do you think that their 2022 success was a flash in the pan, or do you think it's evident that they can be challenging top teams?
I mean, in terms of their longer history, this strong period may, I wouldn't flash in the pan is a bit much, but it may prove kind of a great period in their history that you wouldn't expect to go on forever. However, it's very strong right now. We look at their qualifying record. Again, yes, they reached the final of the cup, even if they did host it. And they have a great team if we consider the players on that team, and perhaps the difference really is the confidence that they're coming into the cup with, far more confident than Brazil, who's long term, like we haven't won since 2002. We didn't win when we hosted in 2014. We really haven't passed the quarterfinals over the past 5 cups. So I think Morocco's greater confidence might make a difference.
Yeah, well, they play each other in the first match, so it'll start the group with a bang, and maybe that's where the confidence can matter. We've seen even teams that win tournaments sometimes have a slow start, so yeah, it'll be a very interesting game, that first one.
Yeah, that'll be a great game, and really it'll kind of set the tone for the group, and maybe for both of those teams. We'll talk a little bit later about how far we expect them to progress in the cup, but I definitely see Morocco as potentially winning this group.
Yeah, I think it's possible. Yeah, and then in terms of Scotland, Scotland are kind of a difficult team. They're capable of rising to great things. They're capable of slumping to lethargic and disappointing defeats as well. I think for them,
And also bad luck.
and bad luck. And I would say, even though the odds and the team value is not miles behind Morocco, there's a bit of bad luck here to face two teams that are, fifth and 11th in the world, Scotland being 36th. I think for them, probably only a win is all they need to get out of the group stage. 3 points should do it. And for them, that game against Haiti, which is their first, is imperative. If they get 3 points there, then they kind of, in some ways, whatever else they get might be a bonus. But do you see Scotland as challenging the top two or
Potentially, I think Scotland very stingy in defence. We did see Morocco in the 2025 African Cup struggling a little bit in the final stages to score against stubborn teams. And Brazil may have the same problem if Scotland sets up a big block, which they're likely to do. Scotland could come out of it with a point in either one of those games. And as you say, if they're able to basically score against Haiti, they have a good chance of coming out of the group. However, I wouldn't really see them as challengers to Brazil or Morocco. In fact, I think that the difference we see between Morocco only slightly ahead in odds and team value. I would put Morocco quite a bit further ahead, maybe halfway between Scotland and Brazil.
Yeah, so maybe more reflective of their World Cup or ELO rankings rather than these other measures.
Yeah. But poor Scotland, they might be on the verge of 4 points and passing, and then a fan runs onto the field and the game gets cancelled or something like that,
You never know. But this is a great opportunity to get out of a group stage. Of course, it would really be getting into a last 32 and not a last 16. But it would be,
yeah.
This is as good an opportunity as they'll have, despite two tough teams. I do think Scotland, it's not out of the stretch for them to take a point off somebody, probably Morocco, and maybe duke it out for second place. But I think they are the third strongest team in the group, and you'd kind of expect things to play out that way.
Well, if they do get out of the group, it'll be the first time they've ever done so, having been involved in 12 tournaments and never getting out of the group stage.
Yeah.
Do you give any chance to Haiti, let's say, of getting a point or pulling a surprise?
I really don't. I mean, Scotland have had inconsistent results, so it could happen, but I think it's unlikely. I mean, Haiti, they've done well in some at the game level. They knocked Canada out of a Gold Cup, so they can beat decent teams, but we've also seen just inconsistency, and I think the level of competition here is just such a greater step up than what they've played. No disrespect to Costa Rica and Honduras, but those are teams that kind of at weak points. I think on the world stage, when you expect teams to bring their best, I think it will be very, very difficult.
Yeah, I got to agree on the whole. I mean, I do hold out some hope for Haiti's explosive offense, which can be very exciting. And we suffered as Canada when we went into halftime winning. Were we up 2-0 in the quarterfinals, and then they
Yeah,
came back and scored three in the second half. So they can pull surprises like that. But yes, I wouldn't kind of predict it. I'd love to see it though. I would love to see at least, maybe for a half of a half, to see Haiti at their best, and they can really be impressive. But um, yeah, so are you calling no points here for Haiti?
I think I am. I mean, you see the gap between themselves even in Scotland, and I mean Scotland will know they need to win that game. But if they start with Scotland in their first game and lose that one, I think it's a little grim, for
Yeah.
Morocco and Brazil. For
Yeah, and
those,
the thing is, yeah, Scotland may have trouble scoring, but definitely their best chance of goals will be against the Haiti defense.
yeah. And I do want to say though, for anyone totally writing them off, North Korea came into the World Cup in 2010 and met Brazil and lost that game just by a score of 2-1.
Yeah,
Um, they were beaten heavily by Portugal, I think 7-0 after that. But no one would have given North Korea a chance against Brazil, and yet they had Brazil sweating and trying to see the game out. So it didn't quite happen as an upset, but we talked about strange
yeah,
things happening, and in football it can, and it might not be Brazil, but it could be some other team. Teams that get to the World Cup can sometimes surprise or pull off, if not an upset, make someone sweat, make someone
yeah.
uncomfortable. So I'd love to see Haiti do that. Um,
For the most part, like North Korea, they did have one very good offensive player, but for the most part, just put up a defensive block, which Scotland could do.
yeah,
But then, in terms of an explosive offense, Brazil lost to Cameroon. It was the third game and didn't end up meaning that much, but it does show that Brazil is assailable, as what I think your point was.
yeah, yeah, and any team can surprise.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's talk about how far you see these teams going. Brazil, of course, famous for reaching the semi-finals. I think in 9 World Cups, if I'm correct. Do you see that happening here?
You know what? I don't. The quarterfinal has been a wall for them, and I think it might prove so again. Um, it was a disappointing loss to Croatia, a well-performing Croatia in the last World Cup. But I don't see Brazil necessarily putting a sustained performance, and they weren't that consistent in qualifying. It's maybe not their best generation. To win this World Cup, you're going to have to win a lot of games in a row, and I just don't see Brazil, maybe having that sustained type of performance or the ability to really beat a top team. So they could. They're probably overdue for it. They did um, win the World Cup, if I'm not mistaken, the last time it was in the United States.
Yeah.
Um, so they do have it, but I do think quarterfinals for them.
Yeah, and it was quarterfinals in the last Copa America. They haven't really looked that good in that tournament there either. So again, we're always ready for our predictions to be defied. Brazil could, you know, uh, build strength in the cup and emerge as one of the best teams Brazil ever put out. But going in, it doesn't look it doesn't look that good for them. I agree that quarterfinals is probably the right decision. How about Morocco? Do you think it's unrealistic for them to expect to reach the semifinals again?
I think it's a little unrealistic. Again, there's just so many games they have to go through. If we finish second in the group stage, or if they do finish second, they'll probably have a slightly more difficult path than if they finish first. That said, they had a difficult path in 2022 despite topping their group. So I think they did well, but that sort of success is really, really hard to replicate. I think they've established themselves as a good team, and a good team at the world level, and a team capable of competing, and they'll probably go into a couple knockout stage games as a higher ranked team. But to call that kind of Cinderella story and predict it again, I think is a bit unlikely. So I think round of 16 is very achievable. I think quarterfinals would have to be considered pretty good.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. As far as Scotland and Haiti goes, I think we're probably both agreeing that they would be happy to get out of the group stage.
I do. I mean, Scotland could finish in a position other than third, but I think third is pretty likely. I don't see them really finishing fourth or second, to be honest. And that'll just put them in a very difficult knockout game in the next round. So I think they'll get out of the group as a third place team. They could maybe surprise, but I think beyond the first knockout round would be quite a shock.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, chances are that if they do get out of the group, they'll be facing a pretty top team. So that would be the end of their tournament. Definitely round of 16 would be a wonderful achievement for them. I'm thinking Haiti, myself, just getting any points. We saw in the 74 World Cup, they at least did score against Italy and Argentina, and maybe that's a hopeful goal for them here. What do you say?
Yeah, I see a point as difficult. It would be a great achievement if they got it. But a goal would be good. And they do have a player you like, Duckins Nazan, who's a dangerous forward, scores a lot of goals for them. So a goal would be worth a significant celebration, and I hope they get it.
Yeah, I do too. They have a few forwards, Nazan and Piero, who and they actually do have one playing for a pretty good team. Anyway, I'm going to save that for the player podcast, but definitely have the offensive potential to get a couple of goals, which I hope they do. We'll just finish looking at the order of games here. Do you see anything in that?
Well, I kind of gave it away, but I think the first games are going to be critical to the group order. Brazil play Morocco, and then Haiti play Scotland. I mean, for Scotland, that's a must win. For Brazil and Morocco, one of those teams could give themselves a real edge to finish in first place of the group. So it's interesting. Sometimes we see the most significant games being the final ones. But I think in this case, it's the opposite. It's the first ones. Though I think I would also keep an eye on Morocco versus Scotland, because if Morocco were to slip up or Scotland were to kind of overachieve, that would be the game where it probably happens.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I don't think this is necessarily the case for other groups, but it really seems like those first two games are defining, and then, as you say, the next most defining game is the third game. So, but we'll see if those third round games will have any significance, or whether things will be decided by them, which is what I think it will be the case.
Yeah.
All right. Anything to add, or should we pack it in and hope for the best for Group C?
Yes, I think this will be a good group to watch. I'm excited for this one. I know Scotland and Haiti fans will be excited after long absences, so it'll be a good one. And I'll see you in Group D. All
right. See you then. We would like to thank Michael Foster and Pixabay for the wonderful music in this MediaCast. The title of the piece used is Look to the Sky, Tribal Dance Beats Native American.